So fathers spend more time with sons than daughters? Yes, that's true.
Noisy bunch. First, though, do fathers need sons? Is that desire written in code in our DNA, hardwired into our little macho minds? You tell them you're having a baby girl, their face lights up, but deep down you detect disappointment in his voice. In times past, of course, men definitely wanted sons. Henry VIII's desire to maintain the Tudor line saw him change history, ending Catholic supremacy here in Blighty just for starters. His craving for a son saw him execute 2 wives and divorce 2 more, while the one who finally gave him what he wanted, Jane Seymour, died in the process. Not that Jane Seymour. That's the one, right. Now, boys are still preferred to girls in many countries around the world, China, Korea, India, for example. You don't have to pay a dowry when a son marries. Indeed, you get lots of nice stuff from the bride's family instead. Boys, as a rule, tend to be stronger than girls and therefore make better workers, particularly in agricultural communities. Although when I've been to India, it seems the women are always building the roads. Only very, very few cultures put baby girls above baby boys. There's a tribe in western Sumatra I know of, another in Siberia. Not many, though. Well, what about in modern-day Britain? Do men still feel a need for a male heir to carry on the family name? Do sons make dads feel like real men, all tough and butch? Do fathers find it easier to connect with sons than daughters? No awkward conversations about tampons, unwanted babies, just football and beer, football and beer, football and beer. Sky News anchor Colin Brazier told the Mail on Sunday this weekend how thrilled he was to have finally had a son after fathering 5 daughters. Some new men, he said, feel pressured by modern sensibilities to suppress their yearning for a son, lest they seem patriarchal or primeval. Heavens to Betsy. Now, Hardy, I've tried to work this out. I think you're the only person on the panel who had a daughter first.
No, daughter second.
Ah, so it's not even you?
No.
So I was going to say, were you disappointed?
Do you know what? One of my best friends has just had a child, and she was the wrong side of 40, and it was very tense for 9 months and lots of checks and the rest. And she's a little baby girl, Georgia May, and she's absolutely beautiful. And I think when you look at a child that means something to you, the gender of it actually, it is irrelevant. It's just beautiful, particularly, I mean, I don't know anyone that doesn't know someone who is, you know, having fertility treatment or is struggling to have a child or has had some sort of loss or kind of feeling of need in that area. And I think, particularly in this day and age, we should be grateful for the children we have. I mean...
But were you disappointed?
Not at all.
Don't you like playing football with your son?
I like playing football with my son. Equally, I love going to the cinema with my daughter. I love cooking with my daughter. I love having one-way conversations with my surly 16-year-old son, who I absolutely love. You know, I think...
If you didn't have a son, do you think you'd want one?
I think there is... Again, I think we are inaccurate if we don't think there is a desire in us as men to want... Men haven't been allowed to crave the company of other men. It's not something naturally we're allowed to express. And there is something very beautiful about a father wanting a son. But I don't think necessarily...
Are you doing vomit movements around here, O'Brien?
I was just embracing a strong man.
I'm right here, love. Come and get me. Come and get me.
What about you? What have you...
It is driven by primal needs, there's no doubt about it, and it's the fuel for misogynism. We live in...
So what came first, though? Because I'm fascinated by this. Men ruled the earth.
Well, men are strong, and you know,
so
and by default, better. You know, and it's insane, actually. But yes, there is the primal drive. I mean, if you look in the animal kingdom, the first thing that a marauding male will do is kill the males of whatever. Lions do it, apes do it. And we're not that.
Please do it.
we're not that far away. We're not that evolved. We'd like to think that we are, but we're not truly not.
So you're saying that if a man was to father 5 daughters, he would crave a son?
I think that's possibly so. I think they would.
I think women crave daughters. I had 2 boys.
I was just about to ask you that very question.
And I love my sons, but I was delighted to have a daughter, and I love doing the glittery shoes and all of that stuff, which I can't do.
You can do that with some sons, though. I'd be well up for it. Not that I'm your son, obviously.
And I think, looking back to my own childhood, my parents had 2 boys and then they got 3 girls, and my father spent all his time with my brothers, and he did all the and they did all the sport together. They used to make things in his workshop. They did all that stuff, and I was a kind of alien species to him, and very annoying as a teenage girl because I squeaked. And so I think, I mean, obviously, well, I had a higher pitched voice than my brothers did. I think things have changed, and I think there are some men who love having daughters because it doesn't challenge them, because they can spoil her, and if they're not that macho a guy, if you then have a son who's Mr. Butch
like having daughters because they love their children. Do you know what I mean? That, you know, these kind of vapid gender stereotypes irritate.
It's what makes the world go round, isn't it?
I'm not mentioning names, but I'm talking about my genuine experience, which is I know some dads who are delighted they have daughters because they're not the kind of outdoorsy, that kind of guy, and they wouldn't want to have to do that kind of stuff. They feel they'd have to do
What's wrong with sitting in with a bit of Streisand? Can I hit you with a fact, though, from India? You mentioned India. In the Punjab, feticide, which is when they scan and find out it's a girl and they terminate it, has got so extreme that whether, you know, normally for 1,000 boy children, there'd be about 999 girl children or thereabouts. It's got to points in the Punjab where for every 1,000 boys, there's something like 800 girls.
It's the same in China. In fact, China has the biggest gender difference on the planet because of that. To the
extent that brothers in the Punjab are now marrying one woman because there aren't enough women to go around. So, you know, you make your bed and you'll lie in it.
OK, let's throw it over to you. I'm actually quite surprised by how warm to the idea of fathers needing sons the panel is. What about you, Kirsty?
Mandy's on line 1.
Mandy, good morning.
Hello there.
So, do fathers need sons?
Yes, I have. Well, we're pregnant with our second child, and our first child obviously is a boy. But I think it's more of a macho, trying to look good, caveman type of thing in front of other people. He's really a big softie, my partner.
Right.
So I think it's more, yes, no, it's got to be a son. He's really into football, so it's the whole football thing and all the rest of it.
What about you? What do women want? Do they want girls?
I've got a boy now, and when I was pregnant with Odin, I wanted a girl. But now that I've got a boy, I think it's great because he's just my little mucker. He's rough and tumbles, and he plays on his own as well, very well. Whereas girls, I think, need more attention from their mothers. They need to follow their mothers around and things. Whereas he's really content.
OK, I mean that's now. I've got a very good friend with 2 teenage boys in her flat, and I think she sometimes feels outnumbered, outvoted. Unable to do anything that she'd like to do because boys rule the roost. So she doesn't get to see EastEnders, she gets the football, and I think it does drive her bonkers. But you've got a few years before you'll be in that position, Mandy. Enjoy it while you can. Thank you.
Claire's on line 3.
Claire, good morning.
Good morning.
So do fathers need sons?
No.
OK, thanks for the call. Do you want to give us any more, or we leave it at that?
Sorry.
No, I mean, men like that, their ego says they need someone to love them.
Right.
So they have daddy's little girl that loves them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a son and a daughter, and I didn't want my daughter, I wanted a boy. And I love my boy, but I love my daughter as much.
Can you explain why you felt like that? That's a question.
Because growing up, I preferred the company of men, and I had more male friends than I had female friends. Because you know where you are with a bloke.
Oh, really?
Well, a woman will like you one minute, hate you the next, where a bloke is...
That's a vapid gender stereotype.
Claire does remind me of the words of Arabella Weir, which is, what do men and women have in common? They both hate women. You've just said the most preposterous thing, Claire. Please think about what you've just said. You know where you stand with a man. Listen, I'm a man. I don't know where I stand with anyone, irrespective of gender.
And what about the transgender?
Yeah. What about the transgender?
Listen, just take a step to the left.
What about the people in the middle? Come on.
What do they want? Do they want boys and girls? Yeah.
And let's not forget the people of Norwich in this. They are the cathedral, they have a cheese.
OK. I love the line, you know where you stand with a man. I'm thinking in a pub.
Perhaps Tammy Wynette knew where she stood with a man.
After the ads. Homes, not charts for the OAPs. Homes, not charts for the OAPs. Homes, not charts for the OAPs. It's amazing that a 92-year-old is currently #1 in the UK album charts. I'm not talking about Cliff Richard, by the way. Just because they're #1 doesn't make it right. Surely Dame Vera Lynn should be resting at this stage in her amazing life rather than competing with the likes of Kings of Leon for pop glory. Isn't pop music meant for youngsters, young people, rock and roll, sex, hide the sausage? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts. Cliff Richard, Vera Lynn, even the Beatles are clogging up the charts. Should they be forced to retire, sent to an old folks' home and made to dunk their biscuits? Your thoughts after the break.